Not only that, that Ballmer, if he did something illicit and under the table and tried to, work around the salary cap, then he's got to be bricks, right? Because at that point in time, he's the dumbest human being on the planet because he trusted these scammers to do something he knew was against all NBA rules.
Every time I hear the word dumb being used in reference to the Clippers scandal, it's like the wrong piano key is being struck. That was Mark Cuban on the Pablo Torre Finds Out podcast. We're going to go ahead and strike that piano key 2 more times. Here is ESPN's Bobby Marks.
Sent a wire. That wire directly went into Kawhi Leonard's pocket. I think it's going to be extremely, extremely, extremely difficult to do that. And the second, the Clippers are not dumb.
Let's go ahead and play that line one more time.
Round picks eventually came out to 3. The Clippers are not dumb.
No, the Clippers are not dumb. What's happening here is the use of the word dumb is creating a false equivalency. And I have a full breakdown on the graphic that is now on the screen with me. We have Bobby Marks, we have Mark Cuban. We also have a tweet from Mark Cuban, and it starts, "I'm on Team Ballmer. As much as I wish they circumvented the salary cap, first, Steve isn't that dumb." So here we have the false equivalency. So Steve Ballmer and the Clippers circumventing the salary cap equals dumb. That is incorrect. Steve Ballmer and the Clippers circumventing the salary cap is risky. What we also have is a false dichotomy. Either Steve Ballmer and the Clippers are dumb and circumvented the salary cap, or they're smart like we think they are and they did not circumvent the salary cap. Of course, that ignores option C is they're smart and they took a risk. So also on this graphic, I have the definition of the word dumb. This is from Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Dumb, lacking intelligence, stupid. The Clippers are not stupid. They took a calculated risk. Now, how much calculation went into it? Who knows? But this was very much a risk that they assumed. And the Clippers have demonstrated that they have the risk trait. We saw that they went all in on that Paul George trade to bring Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers. So they mortgaged their future. Clearly, they're already willing to assume risk. So let's go over a few more things I have on this slide. Circumvention may have been smart, and so that's another point here. This may have actually been the smart move. Now, unethical, yes. In violation of the rules, yes. But dumb, no. So circumvention may have been smart based on the objective and perceived and or actual risk. So here, the objective for the Clippers being to win a championship. The Clippers were in the business of winning an NBA championship. Usually business is about money. Here, with Steve Ballmer, money's not really the concern. So the Clippers were going all in to try to win an NBA championship. And when we look at the risk, at the time they took this risk of circumventing the salary cap, it was quite small because they got unlucky that this was even uncovered. So the Clippers took a risk and they got unlucky. The sequence of events that had to unfold for this to ever come to light was extreme. So this was extremely unlucky on the Clippers' part, and that's all that's happened. They took a risk. It was unethical, but it was a calculated risk. It was a business decision. The business being, we're in the business of winning an NBA championship or trying to win an NBA championship. We went all in with the Paul George trade, and we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that Kawhi Leonard comes to the Clippers, even if that includes circumventing the salary cap. And we can talk about timing, but I'm just talking about generally here. The Clippers were willing to assume risk. They got unlucky that this sequence of events has unfolded. Otherwise, this is never going to come to light. But what it is not dumb. Dumb would indicate that the Clippers lack the capacity, they lack the intelligence to understand what would happen here. This is not dumb. This is a risk that has gone awry, and we see a low percentage. There was a low percentage chance of this ever being found out, and it just so happened to come to light. So let's take the analogy here of parking in a parking space. So there's a chance for this given parking space that they will boot your car, but you go ahead and park there anyway. You take that risk because you want to save time, whatever it is, and your car ends up being booted. Well, were you dumb? No, you took a risk. Now, you could argue that your risk calculation was wrong. And so in that way, you could say, yeah, your risk assessment was dumb. But going back to Mark Cuban, that's not what he's saying here. So Mark Cuban is saying you were dumb because any chance that you took, or any chance that the car would be booted, that you took that chance was dumb. That's not the case. So going back to Cuban's tweet, let's read this again. I'm on Team Ballmer. As much as I wish they circumvented the salary cap, first, Steve isn't that dumb. If he did try to feed Kawhi Leonard money, knowing what was at stake for him personally and his team, do you think he would let the company go bankrupt, knowing all creditors would be visible to the world? They got scammed by aspiration, along with many others, crimes for which they pleaded guilty last week. So Cuban's not saying that this is a poor risk calculation. Cuban is saying that Steve Ballmer is too smart and would have avoided all activities that theoretically could have gone awry. So here we see some hindsight bias. But I wanted to cover this because it's not dumb. This was not dumb. We have a false equivalency and we have a false dichotomy. This was a calculated risk, and one where I think the risk calculation was good. Like, there was a low risk profile. Yes, this was unethical. Yes, this broke the rules. But the Clippers also got extremely unlucky.